What if there was a way that we could get rid of
What?
Jerry?
You mean roommate swap? I've already tried that. Everybody knows how flatulent he is. It's public knowledge.
See, there's this policy that if your roommate commits suicide, Tranquility Town will send you on an all-expense-paid cruise to the Bahamas. Huh? And you get free housing for the rest of the year.
Oh, free housing?
Yeah.
I could buy another hamster.
Yeah.
Well, what are we gonna do? We just insult him until he commits suicide?
No. We're gonna kill him.
Good evening, everybody. I am Fernando A. Mico, the founder and executive director of the Nova Fest, the Northern Virginia International Film and Music Festival. We have just completed the 7:30 screening on Thursday, April 15th of the Nova Fest 2021, our 7th annual. And we are fortunate enough to have filmmaker Cameron Penn of the film The Roommates, dark comedy, joining us on stage today. Cameron, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Fernando. What a great opportunity to be included in this year's Nova Fest.
Again, you are a returning alumni.
That's right. That's right. Second time.
And you mentioned what year was that?
That was 2017. Before I had the light facial hair.
Very light. You're making it very hard because I consider you a friend, Cameron. So we've hung out before. Yeah. Since that time in different coast to coast.
Yeah.
We're jet setters.
Virginia, California.
On different. Yep. I still remember Santa Monica Cheesecake Factory.
That's right.
I think on a couple of occasions. But anyway, the point being, back to the facial hair, is that you're still quite and will be for quite a while, be a young man. May I ask how old you are? What 20s have you taken?
23. So yeah, getting close to 25.
Hurting me. So were you a teenager when I did? Were you 19 or something?
Yeah, I was 19. Yeah.
Wow. Usually it's important in this conversation just because the caliber of your work and production value is so high and so well done.
Thank you.
It's just amazing for someone of your age. And I will say now, on top, another compliment is your range. The first film that you submitted was kind of definitely a lot more moody, easily more dark, even though this was a dark comedy, and obviously much more on the drama tip, and still on the tail end of the whole 9/11 essence. Absolutely. 72 is the name of the film. Fantastic film.
Yeah, it was very subdued, and
so now
this is very different. Yeah.
Now you've branched out, and one of the things we love to do, or one of our missions here at Nova Fest, is not only to entertain and support and celebrate and champion, but to educate. And you fulfill one major part of the equation that's very hard, and it is hard, deservedly so. In that, obviously, it's well shot, it's well produced, et cetera, but you'd have not only one, but three named stars in your short. And again, it's an understandable obstacle. They're very expensive. They can be hard to get at. All kinds of rules and different protocols come along with them being of a different caliber within the SAG-AFTRA world, so on and so forth. But it helps your film sell because they are billboards along with being talented artists. So, congratulations. You've upped your game easily in the last 4 or 5 years since we've interchanged. But anyway, we're not here to listen to me talk. I'll just open with an initial question for you for your dark comedy short, The Roommate. what got that going? What inspired it? Did you write it? Did someone else write it with you? Did you purchase it somewhere? What was the catalyst for going, you know what? I want this on the big screen. I'm going to invest a good portion of my life into producing this.
Yeah, so it's an original screenplay that I wrote myself. It was inspired my freshman year at NYU, which was the same time that we met. I think, or no, we met my sophomore year, but freshman year at NYU, I filmed 72. So that's when I made 72. While I was making 72, I had a very interesting roommate. I had two roommates. One of them, I was a very good friend with, kind of like Henry and Arthur in the roommates. And the other one I was also friendly with, but he became a very difficult roommate. He had a very high, shall we say, libido, and was constantly taking extra long showers. You'd see interesting things going on in the middle of the night across the room, et cetera, and various things. And so my other roommate and I learned about this policy at NYU that says if your roommate commits suicide, you get all A's for the semester and free housing. All A's and free housing just for your roommate to off themselves.
And free housing.
So it's fiscally and academically beneficial. And so I, my roommate and
encouraging even.
Yeah, well, we used to kind of think, maybe we'll just toss him out the window one of these nights, after he's had a little too much to drink, and we'll chalk it up as, a suicide or something. But regardless, I decided that instead it would be smarter to just live out that fantasy in a fictional setting, and I wanted to set it in a retirement home because I thought that was kind of a world that hadn't been explored in an interesting and unique way. And so that's kind of how I came about this. It's kind of largely based in my own personal experiences, dark fantasies that I had at the time, and I wanted to kind of put it in a very different format to inoculate myself legally. And that's just a joke. But I thought exploring it in a retirement home would be more interesting, and so that's how I came up with the screenplay.
How much research did you get into, if at all? It's one thing to imagine it and apply it to your own personal experiences, but just anything from getting the vibe, the beat of being in a funeral home, the mentality. We had at least one other, the legacy session, where it dealt with dealing with assisted living, because the mentality is different. In a prior short, it was addressed in the periphery, but it added to the texture of the entire film, where it's like, oh, I made new friends, 3 to 4 new friends recently, but they all passed away within the last year or so. It's just it's obviously a different dynamic. Did you do any research to get that feel?
So when I was younger, I got into the entertainment industry by doing magic. I was a magician, and I used to perform. And I was a kid, and
that you, the kid?
I casted him. He looks like me. That's my cameo in the project, because I used to perform in retirement homes, and fortunately, I never set a woman's hair on fire. But but yeah, so I used to do magic shows in retirement homes, and I actually really loved doing it, and it was one of my favorite venues to perform in. And so I kind of got to see, though, a lot about that. And of course, the film is filmed in real retirement homes. The pilot is we shot it in 2 real retirement homes in Los Angeles. So I got to spend time there and learn and make it as authentic as possible. And originally was considering shooting it in New York. So I visited several retirement homes in New York as well. So it was helpful to actually shoot it at a real retirement home. Real people that live there are in the background. They wanted to participate, which was cool. Awesome. And yeah, so that gave it kind of, I think, a very authentic and realistic edge, And Barry Bostwick's stone old. So no, I'm just kidding. he's always busting
well, I'm thinking
my balls,
that might have been.
I gotta get one in on him. No, but he's really cool.
it must have been cool for the residents too, if they're maybe a little not necessarily starstruck, but the fact that they're on a film set with actual celebrities. That must have been very, very cool.
Yeah.
And since you brought up, go ahead.
I wasn't going to say anything.
What was the process in acquiring these guys? No. Okay. What was the process in acquiring? Because again, you didn't have one, but three major. I mean, they're not George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Johnny Depp, Will Smith caliber, but because how many of them are there? But point is, these are known actors. Right. These are known actors.
So I did.
Can you take us through the process of casting them?
So I did acquire them. They now live in my basement.
It's very good. Coffee, exactly. Lots of coffee.
So basically, the way that I went about attaching them to the project was I was very fortunate to be selected to participate in a program called Academy Gold, which is a mentorship program run by the Oscars. And my mentor was Joanna Ray, who is a very esteemed, legendary casting director who's cast a lot of movies for Tarantino and David Lynch, Bong Joon-ho, some of the best directors alive. And so it was such an amazing thing that I got connected with her. We hit it off well. She really liked my ambition and what I wanted to do with this project, and she thought the script was hilarious. And so she slipped the script to Bruce Davison, who plays Arthur. And Bruce really read it, liked it. And when I had him attached, once you have one known actor attached, now you're legit.
Right.
So I was able to go around town and ended up attaching Barry Bostwick. Bruce and him actually went to NYU together, the same school that I was from. And they had never acted together before. They were always competing against each other for the same roles. So they were like, yeah, let's work together. This is cool. And that's how I got them. And once I had them, I didn't actually approach Martin Kove. His manager approached me because he saw it on Actors Access. And he said, hey, Marty would love to do a comedy. And I was kind of like shocked that I was getting approached by Martin Kove's manager.
That's
this was actually before Cobra Kai.
That's so cool.
Before Cobra Kai aired. But I was a really big Karate Kid fan growing up, and was actually afraid of him as a kid. Watching the films, I was scared, So I was like, "This is great," So I rewrote the script a little bit to make Jerry more of a villainous character. Originally, he was kind of this senile, obese guy who isn't really intentionally shitting on buckets to fuck them over. But he's just kind of, But this game, I wanted to take that villainous edge that Martin has and kind of use that. And I think it makes it a much better and more dynamic project. So it really worked out very well. I was very lucky.
No, very smart, clever, hugely artistic, creative move. And just it's a bit of serendipity where, as you said, Cobra, he was already obviously big from Rambo, Karate Kid. And then the resurgence of the Karate Kid with Cobra Kai, right when you're coming out, that's just incredible. It's just incredible. I know with another filmmaker of ours, very first year, her very first film was with Charlie Heaton, who's now with Stranger Things. He's the photographer. But again, that was just. It's just incredible. It's more of a commentary how obscurity and timing right there and then.
Well, you have Alina.
Because how was the chemistry on set with them?
Oh, I was just going to say, and you have Alina this year with Aaliyah Shakwat, which, right, playing Nova as well. Yeah.
That was. Yeah, they played right after yours. It closed tonight's block.
So that's really cool too. So you were asking about the chemistry that they had. The actors.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the two. They competed and now got to work together. And now, they have Mr. Kove on there. How was that? Did it flow, or did you have to put some? How was that? I remember when Bryan Singer first did X-Men. There's a little bit of tie there. That was kind of his debut, so to speak. But he's dealing with classically trained actors. Okay. And telling them, okay, you're about to levitate here, use your imagination, stuff like that. But there was, I may be reading into this, but there might have been a bit of intimidation. Like this this kid telling these veterans, you know, giving them direction and putting their vision. Did it matter? Did you just go cold, went into director's mode? This is my vision. I'm going to get it done. Or was there any little kid in you going, what the heck am I doing here?
It's you know, it's challenging being the boss, because the director, you are the boss of the actors, technically speaking.
Right.
But it's really important to actually adjust your vision to their vision when you're working with more known actors, you know, because they wanted to do the project because they felt like they could really bring a lot of their own life experience and career experience and kind of color the project that way. And so at first I kind of went in and was treating it just like any other project that I had done, where it's like, boom, 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 you're going to stand here, make sure it goes this way. Let's go, go, go. We have to get this many shots done. But I really realized very quickly that that was going to inhibit the project, and then I needed to slow it down a little bit, cut my shots, and let Barry, Bruce, and Marty really kind of play with it and massage it and massage the script and massage the scenes, and so it could come off much more authentic and really kind of become its own thing. And so I kind of had to let go of some of the things that I wanted to do, but it actually in many ways improved the project. And it was a great learning experience for me, because, you know, you could be the biggest director in the world, but if you're shooting with Leonardo DiCaprio, he's bigger than you. You know, even if Scorsese's filming a film, if it's with like someone like Leonardo DiCaprio, he's gonna drive a lot more of that creativity than you would think. You know what I mean? Because usually these bigger actors are also producers on their films nowadays as well. So the actor is an incredibly important part of not just the portrayal of the character, but the entire creative process, the screenplay, and how the project plays out. And I got a sense of that with this project, in that the actors wanted to really have a creative input in the project, which was something that they don't really teach you in film school that actors do. So that was great to learn, and ultimately it actually really helped elevate my ability to direct this, getting their input.
That's just fantastic. And from my own perspective, that does communicate. They own their characters. Again, in my opinion, you hit so many tones in this film, and in terms of, I believe the characters were who they were. They didn't look like they're acting, for the most part. And as you're talking now, I'm re-envisioning and playing it in my head best I can. Where okay, I could totally see that. I could see that where they wanted to own it a little bit more, and it's been too far removed. But as a filmmaker, like that's just smart. That's that's a different caliber of thinking, opposed to all the myriad of things you're thinking on set. You are taking it to that next level where you're allowing the ability to be creative on set on something that is just your senses are being bombarded on so many different levels. Anything from daylight to did you have enough AA batteries to but to get into it where you're appreciating the artistic contribution in the I hate using the word because it's abused, but the collaborative factor in the equation. So kudos to you. And by the way, we do have some people in the audience today, so if you have some questions, please post them. Hopefully you can tell this kid's got moxie. Speaking of, where are you? Because you mentioned, I know a little bit, obviously, but for the rest of us, or not for the rest of, but for everyone else who'll be watching this, you mentioned you went to, and what's different to me talking to you now is that you're saying it in past tense, NYU. What's your origin story? Where did you come up, and where were you raised, and what region influenced you?
So I'm from San Diego, sunny San Diego. I went to Carlsbad High School, participated in the theater program there.
Wow.
And did a lot of acting. And then I was directing scenes for this regional Shakespeare competition called DTASC, Drama Teachers Association of Southern California. I really realized I loved the creative sense of not just acting in a scene, but building a scene. And so that's what made me decide to go to film school. So I shot a short called The Forgotten Soul for my application film. It's about a dying homeless man, a dying homeless criminal's life flashes before his eyes. Dark and similar to 72 in some ways. And that got me accepted to NYU. And so that's where I studied filmmaking, learned the craft from some really fantastic professors, and really taught myself in some ways as well. On top of that, just by working with other NYU students, and yeah, and the
Any
crew.
particular reason?
Oh,
I was
sorry,
just going
go
to ask,
ahead.
any particular reason you picked East Coast opposed to West Coast? Obviously, you've got USC, UCLA, on and on.
Well,
It's the
I didn't
hub.
get into
New
those,
York is
so
just
that's
we
why
try.
I picked
Yeah,
NYU.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna be perfectly
Fools,
honest with
all
you.
of them.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's
Okay.
I'm glad I did get into LMU, which is an SoCal Film
Okay.
School, very good film school as well. But
I lived right next to there.
yeah, no, it's a great area, and I have
So
some.
you're making me nostalgic. This is not about me. Huh? I apologize.
No, it's
Go
cool.
ahead.
It's cool. I have some friends that went there, and I know some really talented people in that program. But I just looked at the alumni lists and really just realized that all my favorite people went to NYU. You know what I mean? Um,
Okay.
yeah. So like all of my favorite directors went there. So I wanted to kind of give it a shot, and I'm glad that I did. And it's nice to be back in Southern California. But hopefully I'll make it back to New York soon.
Okay. I mean, so you knew early on. You mentioned a little bit of your history. I mean, were you just like Robert Rodriguez savant? You just started playing with technology that wasn't even there for you, and you just knew this was your career path, opposed to stumbling upon it later. You just definitely was going to be in the film world as an actor or some kind of creative film art. Did you know that very early on, or did it develop later?
I think once I started doing magic shows, like because by the time I was 12, 13, I was like taking magic very seriously, getting paid gigs, and had
Hmm.
large stage illusions, and really kind of felt like I wanted to be the
Wow.
next Lance Burton. And so he's my favorite magician of all time. Actually, that's a Lance Burton. That's Lance Burton right there, hanging up on my wall. It's from when I saw his show when I was really young in Las Vegas. So I really always wanted to entertain.
So about to say it. It looks like a Vegas shot.
Yeah. I always really wanted to entertain people, um, and I really loved being on a stage as well. That was like it's like addicting for me. But I also wanted to be creative, and I saw that the film industry is really a good thing to get into, and I've had a lot of passion for every project that I've done. I get really passionate about it, and kind of, especially when I'm directing, and on a set and working with actors, and it's all happening. That's an adrenaline rush for me. It's really exciting. It can be very challenging, but I like to be challenged. It's all encapsulating. I can't worry about anything else. I can't think of anything else except the project when I'm in a film, which is cool. When I'm directing a film or a pilot, and so that's kind of how I've realized that this is the route that I want to go with, career wise. But yeah, from a young age, from probably like 10 years old, I knew it was going to be something in entertainment.
Okay, so at the ripe old age of 23 now,
Mhm.
is this it? Is it directing, producing, writing films? Opposed to, you mentioned being a magician, and that was a phase, and then some initial strides in acting. Is that still on the whiteboard, or it's just producing, directing, writing films now? Or the essence of what being a filmmaker?
I will be probably acting in my next like project that I direct. I think, yeah. So I'm
Okay.
gonna find something. I have some ideas. Um, I kind of want to do a modernized, dark, kind of a Bonnie and Clyde-esque thing, but with a few interesting twists in the modern day. And I would want to be Clyde in that. So that's something that I'm thinking about. Um, but yeah, I do want to get back to acting because that's what got me into this this business. So I definitely want to get back into it. So that's definitely going to be something that's going to be at the forefront. But I don't think it's going to be a situation where I'm just aggressively auditioning. I think it's going to be a project that I'm writing and producing, and maybe even also directing, and then see where it goes from there. And yeah, but yeah, I mean, writing and directing projects is what I see myself continuing to do.
A lot of these interviews with the Nova Fest, because I don't want you to feel like you're in a junket per se. There'll be some blueprint questions, but I kind of like to do it organically. So I have an abstract comment / question, or just take it for what it is. One thing I've personally noticed, as far as it pops its head up, is that generally have a cheerier, lack of a better adjective, disposition. They tend to make movies that are kind of dark, or they're more dystopian in nature. Where in reverse, I've noticed that people who have kind of a dark nature, who kind of poo-poo the world, they make these. They tend to lean towards inspirational or films that well, inspirational probably is the best word, but they'll be hero films. And I could be totally off on this, and I could be totally making this up in my head, but I think like not the best person to mention at the moment, but like a Joss Whedon, where I've seen that he's in interviews where he's kind of like poo-poo on the world, this and that, but he'll make something like the Avengers the first time, where he's really instituting hope and belief in people, that you can believe there are certain individuals you can go after. Would you find yourself in that kind of situation, or you're just a dark guy and you just want everybody to see your artistic expression?
I have a sunny disposition, right? No, I think I have a sunny disposition.
I think so.
No?
I think so. So you know what? I'm seeing a common denominator. Yeah, I love it. Every time we hung out, I always feel better for it.
Yeah, well, obviously it's great hanging out with you, so I'm always like having a good time. But yeah, well,
because we're always movie talking, and both of us go forever, right?
Exactly. I think so. When it comes down to that type of thing, yeah, I mean, a lot of great stand-up comedians are like super depressed, and I have also heard that like you'll be on a set of a drama show, Vampire Diaries or whatever kind of drama, and everyone's having a great time. You know what I mean? As far as I go, yeah, I do like exploring the darker things. I don't see myself making an uplifting film, but just because it's not interesting to me, you know what I mean? Like what's a great uplifting film is like Lady Bird. Like that's an incredible uplifting movie. So there are uplifting films that are just amazing. But I like, darker, grittier things, exploring some of the more, mysterious, kind of forbidden aspects of the human existence, whether it's, wanting to murder someone. With 72, it was lust motivating terrorism. And did a high school film that was a House of Cards parody called The Stacked Deck, about this psycho, just like Frank Underwood, who kills his way to the top so he can become the president of the school. So I just think that that's a little more interesting, because it's kind of fun watching characters like that. It's an enjoyable experience for me, and yeah, so that's kind of how I see it. But it doesn't, those writing in that subject matter doesn't affect like me and how I act around people, or even how I feel. You know what I mean?
I hope not. Yeah, definitely hope not. You're making me have some unearth some thoughts I've had about quite a while ago, where a part of that theory for me is it's almost similar to the escapism that some people use the movies for, where it takes them to a different place. So if you're generally, don't have the best perspective of of existence, you want to make it. You want to do the opposite. You want to, you want to create something that is that. But if you generally think the world is great, you want to say, or you'd want to produce something where Well, this because it's out of my comfort zone,
Yeah.
so to speak. And again,
Yeah,
like you said, it gives you a
exactly. Yeah.
thrill. It gives you a thrill.
Yeah, it's thrilling
With this
kind of
one in
having these things
particular,
come to life.
go ahead.
I was just saying it's thrilling kind of like having a
With the
vision
root,
come to life, and because like in another world,
always.
like in another world it would be so cool to like rob banks and just live the life of a criminal, you know what I mean? Like that's, to me, that's always seemed so attractive. When I was young, I wore a pirate hat to preschool every day because I wanted to be a pirate. So I've always liked this idea of outlaws and those people kind of cast aside by society because it's so cool. Well, I mean, I don't want to end up, serving a prison sentence. So instead, it's better to just explore that in a creative format.
Right. Well, you could be the next Jack Sparrow. You don't know. You never know. Or you can write your own Jack Sparrow,
Yeah.
dark Caribbean film,
Yeah.
and there you go. You can wear the big puffy
Yeah.
shirt and everything.
Exactly. Exactly.
I don't know why the big puffy shirt keeps coming up. So with this particular film, I keep saying film, but it is indeed a series, correct?
Yeah, it's a proof of concept
Or
it's a
planned
proof
to
of
be.
concept pilot for a series. Yeah.
Without any spoilers, giveaways, can you tell us a little bit about where this can go? I mean, they got caught, they got cinched or pinched rather.
Yeah.
They're in the pokey, and they're up to their old ways, as you left us with. But where can that go? If you can divulge any of your
Absolutely. Yeah,
theoreticals.
so the I put that ending of them in prison so it's a complete short. So it gives it more festival viability. But in reality, the pilot ends when Arthur asks Henry, Henry, yeah, how are we going to make this look like a suicide? And that's the out of the pilot right there. And then we pick up, they're scrubbing the blood off themselves, freaking out. How are we going to cover this up? They end up going on the run throughout the Midwest. And the show is basically Thelma and Louise, or Henry and Arthur, meets the bucket list. So that's the concept. That's the show. The misadventures these two old guys get into. They're out of their element. Now they're out of the retirement home. And they're kind of running through the United States, evading the law, and so that's really the concept. And there's a lot of fun places where that can go. Maybe they do eventually end up in the Bahamas in hiding. You know what I mean? So that's how I see the show happening. I think it would be something that would be funny, but I think I would add elements where it's a page turner and you want to know what's going to happen and you keep watching, just like a very serious drama. You know what I mean? But instead, it's a kind of an absurdist comedy and it maintains that tone. But people will be invested in the storyline.
Yeah, thank you for using the word absurd, because I had to giggle when you said the intense drama or whatever you just mentioned.
Yeah, it's not going to be.
I didn't get that sense.
It's not going to be. No, it's not an intense drama. But when you watch an intense drama, you're hooked and like, what's going to happen next? And that's what I want to accomplish, but in the comedy sphere. So it's not like most comedies. You can just watch an episode at any point and enjoy it and digest it. In this case, you really have to follow the storyline, and that's kind of how I want to kind of innovate that genre a little bit.
I mean, I might interject just the slightest bit where watching the pilot, you can't help but have like an internal grin the entire time, because we're being set up and we're happy to take the journey. So I'm presuming then if this goes on, it gets picked up, or you want to keep pursuing it, Mr. Kove is no longer part of the equation, or is he going to pull an Obi-Wan and sort of ghost around and give guilty nuances and pokes along the way? Or will we have a new?
So I think they're going to end up maybe in a town in the Midwest, and there might just be a local mayor that is Jerry's long lost twin brother, out to find the guys who murdered,
of course,
his beloved twin. So that might happen. That's
see, yeah. Just that one. That I'm going to interrupt that one sentence. I'm hooked. Like I want to see that.
Exactly.
I absolutely want to see that. I can hear the theme music in the background.
Not because everybody told me like, how could you kill off Jerry, how could you kill off Martin Kove so quickly? You know, and even before I filmed it, you know, and I was like, you're right, you know, he's too good, you know, I can't. So yeah, so maybe not right away, but probably in the second season is when that would happen.
Yeah, kudos to well, obviously all three were nominated for in the
Best
Nova
actor,
Fest
yeah.
for their acting prowess.
I'm not gonna say who.
One person played, you know, the straight man.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say who I bet it on, but you know.
Go ahead.
No, I said I'm not gonna say who I bet money on, but
Well, one. Well, you win all the way, yeah, no matter what. Because one of them had to play the straight man, you know,
right.
throughout. So so I don't want to take away from that at all, because the straight man is the most powerful one in the group. You know, Abbott and Costello, you go back to all the classics, the pairings of groups. But kudos to the other two for making themselves so vulnerable. They didn't necessarily have to put themselves out there like that, especially at this, you know, further on in their career. I mean, especially, Mr. Kove, that's you got the guy naked in the middle of in the middle of everything. He's got more than 2 scenes like that. So yeah, or in the living room, to be honest with you. In that,
like
that
three
opening salvo.
3 scenes,
So so good job. I don't know how much convincing it took, but I'm sure they saw the page first.
Actually,
but
I mean, he was like, that was interesting. Like, he was totally up for it, you know. He read the script. He was totally down for it. He didn't have any problem with it, you know, because he's confident. I mean, look, he's a star. He doesn't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, yeah, who cares? You know, you know, I'll do whatever I want to do. You know, he's got that confidence and that really kind of elevates the
swagger.
Entire set, you know. But it's not vanity, because he's also like a really cool guy, and he's a humble guy as well. But he's not gonna be so, he doesn't care, you know what I mean? He's not gonna be like, oh, you know, what are people gonna think? He was taking videos of the scenes where he's nude and sending him to his family, like, look at this is hilarious, you know. Like, he would have like one of my guys on the team take his phone and video the monitor of the most kind of, I guess you could say, borderline obscene parts, and he would send it straight to his girlfriend and his son, and you know, he loves it. You know, it's hilarious to him, and that made it cool. So it made it enjoyable. You know, it wasn't like I had to convince him or anything like that, which was nice.
Yeah, I presume he was in the middle of shooting Cobra Kai at the time, so that's good that's just great that you were able to schedule him.
I actually got him. He was done with Cobra Kai. He had finished the first season. He's in the final episode of the first season. He finished that when we started shooting. But I filmed him the day after he was on set with Tarantino and Leonardo DiCaprio for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He's a cameo there. So he went from that huge A-list.
So he upgraded, is what you're saying.
He totally, he went from this son. He was coming in, he's glowing. He's like, oh my God, it was amazing. I had a personal assistant bring me water whenever I wanted. I talked to Pacino, DiCaprio, Tarantino, and then he's on my set, and it's just, you know, just like very low budget and like, you know, very much not
taking a dump in the middle.
Very much not $100 million movie. So that was kind of funny. We kind of had a laugh about that, but you know, honestly, they all acted like it didn't matter. You know, they all acted when it came time to. When the game time came, they could have been on a Marvel movie. It didn't make a difference. You know, they were professionals all the way. They had their lines down. They knew what they were doing, and so I really appreciated that. They took it very seriously.
Okay, I mean, I'm going to kiss your backside even a little bit more. Something that was mentioned in one of the other panels, if not all of them, is that one great thing about your production, your story, is that it felt familiar. It was you kind of knew where the story was going-ish to whatever degree, and it was just a matter of seeing how, as a director and as a filmmaker, you presented it to us, whether it was a close-up here, the great rack focus of Jesus in between the two as they contemplated murder. Just those are nice touches, you know.
Thank you.
So I love the process, and I'm sure all the filmmakers, you know, appreciate it again, all those little touches. I'll segue that into, we do have a question from Ricky in the audience. She asks us, with your magic background, she's a filmmaker, directed a great film as well. She's local also, by the way.
What's the name of
Electric Cart.
I'll watch it on the VOD.
I want to get it right because was it Revenge of the Plastic? Because I'm in a different headspace right now. Ricky, flash it up on the chat so I can say it properly. I know the thrust of it, but I want to make sure I get it right. Okay, I was right. Okay, because I could have totally said something wrong and embarrassed everyone. Well, not me. It's hard to embarrass me. But Revenge of the Electric Cart. Have you seen it yet, Cameron? Or were you able to catch it? I think it was on Nova Night.
I have not. I have not been able to see it yet, but I'm definitely going to watch it. That's a great title. Well, that's a great title.
Well, let's talk offline. You're going to
Revenge of the Electric Cart. That's cool.
You're going to watch it. I'll make sure you watch it.
Absolutely.
Yes, very well shot. And I believe. Well, I'll leave it. Leave it at that. Cora is saying it's really heartwarming. But so anyway, back to the question. Apologies. Let me go back to it. With your magic background, have you considered working on a magic-based short or feature?
I have. I would love to film in the Magic Castle. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, Fernando. That's a club in LA. Actually,
yes,
we
I
have
am.
to go. Actually.
Hey.
What?
Don't talk down to me, kid. I've been around the block too.
Okay.
I've been there.
Well,
yes,
we should go. We should go because I think I still have it in there actually. So, yeah, we should go.
Okay.
Next time you're in town.
It's been many
years.
We'll
go to Magic Castle. We'll see a show. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna take. I'm gonna steal the spotlight for the minuscule moment in that. I think the last time I was there, you were not even born, and that makes me feel so incredibly sad and angry at you at the same time.
That's funny.
Yes, it's been that. Wow, because that's when I lived in LA. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. Go ahead. You had it in. You're gonna give us champagne and
all
personal
the bells and whistles. No, I mean, yeah, but I think I could get it. I think I could get us a couple of tickets. Yeah. So the Magic Castle, it was just a cool thing. I mean, if I was gonna do a magic film or a feature or short, it would be something gritty. It would be all real, so it wouldn't be like, meaning like it wouldn't be like kind of like The Prestige where there's elements of sci-fi. It would be real. It would be real, like something that could legitimately happen, and it would probably be a magician racks up a gambling debt, and shit goes wrong, and his life is in serious danger, or something like that. So it would probably be very dark, very gritty, crime-based, following a magician. I think is what I would do with that if I was going to go that route.
Sodi and Ricky saying that sounds amazing. Would he? Are we talking in the vein of 72, where it's just that terrorist grit to it, or is it kind of MacGyvery, where he uses his hijinks and his magic tricks to get out of predicaments?
I would want to almost make it like Casino, but with a magician. Maybe with magicians. Maybe he has a really cool.
For some reason,
maybe his assistant. His lovely assistant. Maybe she's really pulling the strings, or something like that. I mean, I think there's a really interesting power dynamic of the sexes with the magician and his assistant, you know what I mean? At least from having been a magician myself, like the assistants actually, a lot of times are actually doing the tricks, and they're the ones actually making it happen as far as like pulling the lever or whatever, the actual thing that needs to happen. The assistants are a lot of times orchestrating that, so I think that could be really interesting as well. What is her role with this gambling debt? Or yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a map of ideas. I thought about this several years ago. I actually kind of wanted to hit up Lance Burton and see if he would do something with me, but he's He's not a
Why
trained.
not?
He's not a trained
Why not?
actor though. So I don't know.
Then play.
He would have to be more of a cameo if I was going to work with him.
Oh, so, okay. That I was thinking maybe play himself.
Yeah, it could be.
Or a version of him.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. For some reason, just seeing, thinking of your work, the movie Rounders comes up a little bit. Just it's a little bit smaller and intimate. I haven't seen that in a very long time, but it just it seems like that kind of like hustle, but not on a ground, and oh my gosh, don't hold me to it too deeply. I haven't seen it in a very long time, but it was more about being in a predicament, and they're not necessarily the top of their game. They're just a little more in the average guy,
right?
Using what little bit of magic they have in the gambling world. Okay, it's been a little while. And by the way, Ricky says that sounds just amazing.
Oh, well, thank you,
were
Ricky.
to pull off,
Appreciate it.
or when should I say when you pull off?
I mean,
do you think that would be a?
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you feel that? Do you envision that? I don't want take this too far out, but do you envision that being like a feature or more of a short to tell that story?
I'm trying to stay away from shorts. And move on to features.
Good for you.
I think that's got to be the next step for me, because you spend so much time. The idea of a short is that it's supposed to be, cheaper and easier than a feature, but like shorts are really difficult, and I'm sure features are more difficult, but like if you have a really good team with you, then it can be very doable. And I think in some ways features are even less competitive because there's less features that come out than shorts. And so I think you can get better festival placement if you actually go out and do the feature as well. So I think that it would be a feature. If I was directing it, it would be probably a feature. If I was not directing it, then maybe a short. It just I guess it just depends. Like and but yeah, I think features are where I want to go with my directing career from.
Well, my 2 nickels, 2 pennies into it. The Godfather, and I know I'm going to get a few eye rolls here, but I was fortunate enough to get a couple moments with Dov Simmons, who's like, I know he's like for a lot of people, you may not even have heard of him, but he's one of the, I'll give him this credit. He's definitely one of the Godfathers, at the very least in the distribution world.
Mm-hmm.
He knows his stuff. He's famous for going after dentists as your investors, but he's taught people like Will Smith and Tarantino before, who've given him quotes that he's definitely exploited for his own classes. He's known as the 2-day filmmaker or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, point being, enough of a plug. Where he's an older gentleman, so he's a little bit more grumpy, and I'm paraphrasing here, where he's like, screw shorts, just make a feature, just do it. It's already hard producing anything.
Yeah.
And from personal experience, I was too dumb to know the difference per se. So I just went and shot a feature first, without even because the idea is you dabble in shorts and get your feet wet and dealing with people. So when it's on the grand scale, it's just a little more laborious. And again, it's on a grander scale. I didn't know any better. So I just went in and did screw it. It's not that simple, but essentially my first real production was a feature. And it's out there. It's distributed. You name it, it's out there. Buy the DVDs and watch it on Tubi, or let it play in the background of Tubi. Don't watch it. You can see you're still a young fella there, and you're fortunate enough where your films are so freaking fantastic that in 10 years you're going to be able to look back, and you've been well trained and you've got talent, natural gifts that you're going to look back in 10 years and go, yeah, you're still going to wince here and there, even though it's going to be hard. And they're like, oh, why did I do that? But literally for me doing it, it's like 10 years removed. It just happens to be the anniversary this year. It's like, oh, look, I just graduated college. I'm 21 years old. Here's my oil painting, my thesis painting, whatever. And by the way, here's my 6th grade 10-year-old drawing I did. Because I haven't met a filmmaker yet who doesn't wince at
You know,
something they did way back when. I mean, granted, I'm not
no,
rolling with
no.
the
I
big
mean, you
boys
know
like
what?
you
I
are,
don't
but
really. The thing is like, yeah, objectively, when I watch my earlier stuff, like Forgotten Soul, Stack Deck, the stuff I did in high school, like, yeah, it's like, oh, you know, that's out of focus. But you know, the thing is that I just think of like where I was in my life when I was doing that and who I was with. So it's really just very nostalgic for me, and I just enjoy it. You know, I'm like, oh man, like when I was filming that scene, like this, I remember the exact girl I had a crush on. I remember like the class, the teacher who was like, you know, supporting me, and inspiring me, and so or I remember the friend that we were shooting this with, and we were just fighting to beat the light, or with the roommates it's gonna be, I remember when you know, the whole incident we talked about, which I could talk about now, with the whole stabbing scene and the pigskin fiasco, and how I got put on academic probation at NYU, or disciplinary probation, not academic probation, because those all these crazy things happen when you're making a production. 72, the when he's dreaming about the nude women, the 72 virgins, that was filmed in Central Park, just kind of like guerrilla style, and it was just kind of so crazy and bold that to do that, I was like just turned 18, and I'm doing this, and just kind of remembering that, and location scouting that at midnight. And while I was location scouting that, my producer, who I was friends with, she saw Alec Baldwin just randomly walking at Central Park at night. So just crazy things that happen. But to touch on the academic or the disciplinary probation thing, I feel like I have to address that. Yeah,
go do
yeah.
it.
Otherwise,
You
people are
open
gonna
it
be like,
up.
"What's
Go for it.
this kid's fucking crazy?" So in the scene at the end of The Roommates, when Henry is stabbing Jerry, the challenge with that scene is that Jerry is naked. So normally with a stabbing scene, as you know, Fernando, you put a blood bag under the shirt, foldable knife, blood comes out of the shirt. It's easy, right? Um,
Oh wait, really? I thought you just had the ER
right,
ready for your
right,
actor because they're
right. You
it's
just
low budget,
find a
or you get the
non-vital
this
organ and just put an X on it, and bing. Yeah,
between
exactly,
the ribs,
exactly.
between the ribs. Yep.
Um, so, so to shoot this with the new, you know, shirtless stabbing, naked stabbing scene, um,
Hmm.
I could not afford to get a really expensive prosthetic made. So what I did is I was back in New York and I'm cutting this, and I realized, you know, I need an insert of the stab, because the stabbing scene was not intense enough for me without that insert shot. It's kind of like in Casino, or when Goodfellas, when Joe Pesci is stabbing the guy in the neck with a pen. If you don't get that insert shot of the pen going into the neck,
Hmm.
it's comical, right? And this is a comedy, but I wanted that to be a really kind of dark moment, when that's like kind of the oh shit moment of this pilot. So I wanted an insert like that. So I went to Chinatown in New York and I bought 3 pig's bellies. Bring them back, kind of hide them in a bag, bring them into the dorm. And I was going to shoot this in my dorm room, but I didn't want to stink up the dorm room with the smell of pig skin. So I went in the stairwell, and I took off my shirt because I didn't want to get the shirt stinky. And so I played some Led Zeppelin. You know, I'm a Catholic, so I got my cross showing. We got some Led Zeppelin playing, some of their darker songs, and I'm just there with a huge butcher knife, just cutting the excess meat so I can get the pig skin, fix it to a pillow, and recreate a torso for the stabbing insert. And then I'm also have a bunch of condoms that I'm filling up with blood and oatmeal, so you get the blood splatter. So I'm filling up condoms with fake blood. I'm chopping away pig skin. I'm having a great time. And next thing I know, I'm surrounded by all of the building security. And I'm a little annoyed because it's late at night. I got work to do. And I'm like, what's going on? You know, they're like, sir, please drop the knife. So I put the knife down. Turns out somebody reported me for performing a satanic ritual as I'm preparing my prop, you know. And so I actually get called into the office of the building director. And she's like, you know, we had reports that you were performing a satanic ritual, Cameron. And I was like, well, but if I was performing a satanic ritual, that would be freedom of religious expression, right? And she was like, it would be, but you weren't, so you're on disciplinary probation. And that's a little fun anecdote from the making of the Roommates. But that just goes to that general thing where I look back on my stuff, and rather than cringing at kind of rookie mistakes I made, I'm almost thinking about what was going behind the scenes, you know, and kind of taking trips down memory lane that way. Maybe to distract myself from how cringy some of my earlier stuff could be at times, but that's kind of what I focus on.
You stole a bit of my lightning. I was going to throw in the one-liner at the very end of that. So we'll chalk that up as a memory.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, it's we definitely don't do a 9 to 5. Cora in the background in the chats is saying she wants. I'm not quite sure now because we've been talking about the pig, but she wants you to make that movie. It may be the magic movie. She may be likening back to that. No, I'm sorry. She just said she wants
the
pig
making
movie.
of.
And I'm such a former foodie fat boy. I'm one. I couldn't help but think, what did you do with the pig? Did you cook the pig later? I don't mean to shame anyone. It's just I'm putting out a thought. I'm a horrible person, but I was thinking like a hobbit. What did you do with the pig later?
No, that was down the garbage disposal. Sadly, didn't have any. Actually, what happened is that I didn't realize this, but this actually isn't a joke. My roommate at the time, I didn't realize this because it was like one of the first weeks of school, but it turns out that he's a Buddhist or was a Buddhist, so it was actually kind of like a big problem that I had the pig skin in the refrigerator. So yeah, I had to get rid of all of it. I couldn't cook it or anything. So that was what ended up happening.
Didn't know that was a thing. I thought you're going to go Jewish or Muslim.
I think it was Buddhist.
Yeah,
I
didn't know that was a
I'm
thing.
I'm not really sure, but
Buddhist
yeah, I didn't know. Otherwise, I obviously would have.
We're all the
would
same.
have taken
right?
it to my friend's room and let him deal with
horrible.
it, you know. But yeah, so that's what happened.
Yeah, you're talking about slicing off the skin or whatever it is. Like, wow, that could be bacon.
I mean, it was supposed to be, but I had different use for it. So, you know, anything to get the shot. You know,
you could turn it into a Rocky movie.
Anything to get the shot. Yeah.
Start punching it. Wow. Okay. Unless there are any other questions from our people out there, I'm going to leave it open with I mentioned I try to keep things pretty free flowing, but definitely want to be able for you to promote any and for us to support any of the work you have coming up, to see what stage you are in the in this crazy world right now, obviously. But where you are in terms of the status stage of the Roommates, any other projects, what you want people to know, websites you want people to go to, any way they can help you support your work.
I'm working on the Roommates, building out the show Bible to see what happens to Henry and Arthur as far as after that moment. How are we going to make this look like a suicide? And so I think they will go on the run, and it will be very fun and exciting. So I'm working a lot on that. Going to start pitching that, and then in addition to that, you can find the Roommates updates on that if on the release of the actual pilot. If you want to find out about that, you can go on facebook.com/watchtheroommates. If you just want to follow up with me in general, you can just Google Cameron Penn Vimeo. First thing to pop up should be King of the Sea Films Vimeo. That's my production company, King of the Sea Films. You can also find me on LinkedIn. It's my favorite social media, actually. So I'm always looking to connect on there. Facebook as well. That's all she wrote for me.
Fantastic. Well, again, if there's anything else anybody in the audience would like to add, thank you for being a part of NovaFest once again with a spectacular production. Ad nauseum, I've repeated this a few times now, or at least because I'm doing the final cuts on the awards ceremony. It's bittersweet when I see, we're old enough now where I see returning people who now I consider true and dear friends, also besides being talented filmmakers, screenwriters, what have you. So there's just this weird conflict where I see that submission and I see the name in whatever, and whatever, however it's presented to me. And I kind of hold my breath and I go, because there have been alums who haven't gotten in over the years. We're old enough now. So when I saw Cameron Penn, I knew you're going to bring it. And then I saw a couple of names there. Okay, he's got that going for him. So he's learning. He's up in his game. And then yeah, very happy. And then showed it to other judges and whatnot. And it was an easy slam dunk. So you know, fantastic, great job, Cameron. You're one of a very select few. I'm looking maybe a little nuance more with your age, and you're coming up so young, and you've got, you know, one thing that gravitates me towards you. You definitely got an older soul, and I just like the way your mind thinks. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the future holds for the productions you do, whether it's a magician movie or really anything. It's going to be spectacular to watch you grow and soar.
Well, thank you.
So
well, I just
thank you for joining
us.
Thank you for submitting to the film festival.
You know, on the flip side, seeing Nova grow and everything you're doing with all the other festivals that you're building out and this community you're building and how you're adapting to the online space. I mean, when it was in person, that was super cool. The Angelico is an amazing venue, but this is also really cool. So you're really building quite a little empire for yourself, really. That's the way I see it. So I'm happy to be a part of it. It's a total honor. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's really cool. You know, it's really cool to kind of have gotten in. I think it was like maybe like what was it? Must have been the 3rd year of Nova or something like that. Pretty early phase. Now we're getting close to the 10th anniversary. You know, so I think it's I mean, it's going to come sooner than we think, and it's really cool to be a part of it, and you know how supportive you are of all the filmmakers, and you know I've had a chance to meet the filmmakers that come to Nova, and the people that come to Nova are also really cool and very giving with their time, and their projects are really fun to watch. So it's a great thing to be a part of. Really, I was really excited to be accepted, and yeah, so I'm very excited. I'm very excited to watch Revenge of the Electric Card as well.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit later. I'll make sure you get to
Awesome.
view that. So, well, thank you very much.
Of course.
Yeah, very humbling, and didn't quite see that coming. So you caught me off guard, kid, and I'm not going to let you get away with it. You just make sure one person. And Ricky says, thank you very much for sharing roommates with us.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll speak for her and say I think she really enjoyed it.
Cool.
So, but I'm going to make it even so you see some
Absolutely.
work as
Absolutely.
well. Okay. Well, take care, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Watch this kid. He's more than up and coming, and I see definitely a bright future and great. I'm looking forward to watching what your productions to come.
Thank you.
So,
thank you,
everybody.
Bye.
Please take care, and we have one more day of screening tomorrow, Friday. Take care. Bye-bye.